Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. Miami-Dade Mayor Daniella Levine Cava is up for re-election this year in what could be one of the most contentious races in South Florida. She is widely seen as the favorite and has enjoyed solid approval ratings, especially for her handling of the tragic events surrounding the Surfside building collapse. But she has also stumbled recently, rolling out and then rescinding a plan to raise taxes for major improvements throughout the county. And she has mishandled the PR nightmare we all know as Miami International Airport. One of her leading opponents in this year's election is Manny Cid, the mayor of Miami Lakes. Now, although this is a nonpartisan race, it is no secret that Levine Cava is a Democrat and Manny Cid is a Republican. And Manny Cid is here with us today. Manny, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, let's do the nice part first, and then we'll get into the politics of everything. We are taping this on Thursday because tomorrow, Friday morning, your wife is scheduled to give birth to your fourth child. Congratulations.
Appreciate it, Jim. And if you know anybody selling a minivan, let me know. I got to switch cars now. So,
do you have a name picked out?
Not yet. Well, tonight we're meeting as a family, and we're making that decision. We have top 3, top 4, top 5, but our other 3 kids are going to participate in that process. So.
Oh, I would. Some of those kids are probably going to be a lot of Taylors and Britneys, or do we know boy or girl?
A boy.
It's a boy. Well, let's hope it's not Taylor or Britney then, that the girls vote for. Anyway, let's get into this race. You heard me say that Daniella Levine Cava is probably the favorite right now. Do you disagree?
It all depends, particularly with Democrats in the county who are at 35%. Obviously, she's a favorite. But what has happened is that now independents are moving away from her. So numbers are changing, things are changing rapidly, and I think in the next couple weeks you're going to continue to see polls showing that it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And it's going to happen closer to August 20th. And there's a major possibility that we'll see a runoff in November if we don't pull it off August 20th.
It's likely that there'll be a runoff because you've got several candidates in the race, but let's talk about why you're running. I mean, that's always the bottom line. You're not running just to unseat her. Why do you want to be mayor of Miami-Dade County?
Look, I could have ran for 1,000 other positions. I had people calling me to run for school board, state rep, commission. I want to be in an executive position. My skill set translates really well with the county mayor's position, which is an executive position, and our residents want somebody that's going to be accountable directly to them. On top of that, this is the most consequential election in our county's history. In the last 3 years, we've seen 135,000 people move out of our county, particularly middle-class people that have said they can't anymore with high taxes, congestion in our roads, and regional services that are all in crisis. I mean, you're talking about the airport, garbage, animal services, transportation. Now the state just fined water and sewer for dumping sewage into the bay. So you're seeing all that happen at the same time, and this election will decide if our county is going to be the beacon of hope or if we're going to turn into one of those northeast counties like a New York or even out in the west like a Los Angeles.
So you're well known in the Miami Lakes area, but for the rest of the county, give us a little background. What do how do you make a living? Tell folks exactly a little bit about Manny Cid.
Well, I own a small business. I own a restaurant in my community. So during the COVID pandemic, when we couldn't find anybody to work, I was a cook. There, I cooked for about 1.5 years, but on top of that, I spent 7 years in the state legislature as an aide, 12 years now in Miami Lakes, between 8 being the mayor, 3 as vice mayor, and 1 as a council member. I also am an adjunct professor for speech and debate at St. Thomas University, and I teach at a small high school in Hialeah, entrepreneurship. So really busy guy.
Do you have an ownership stake in an adult daycare?
I used to. I sold it back in 2017 to open up my restaurant, but I did. And back then when we opened it up, we were the best adult daycare in South Florida. I was a vice mayor of the town, and I would drive our van all over South Florida picking folks up because everybody wanted to go there.
I saw one of your ads recently. I think it was a digital ad. I don't know if it played on TV as well. The mail person ad where you had the people dropping off, a mail person dropping off tax notices, and you had superimposed Daniella Levine Cava's face over it, and the person opening the mailbox keels over and passes out. Obviously, it's a funny ad. It's humorous. Your point being that this was an attack related to the $2.5 billion bond issue that she had initially proposed and then withdrew. Why do you think that's a bad idea?
Well, she doubled down on it. That's the most dangerous point of it all. Not only is she withdraw it for now, she says she's bringing it back, an expanded version in 2026. And I think it's a bad idea because not only will it increase the costs that our homeowners have, not only homeowners, but those that are renting. That's something that the county forgets. Every time that you raise property taxes, it's a pass-through to renters. But it's a bad idea because our residents, the majority of them, don't trust the current administration of the county to deliver on a lot of these promises. So it's a bad idea, not only because it's going to hit people's pockets, and affordability is a major issue here in Dade County, but there's no wherewithal right now in county government to deliver on these promises.
But when you talk about the problems that are within the county, infrastructure issues, problems with whether it's even stuff getting dumped into the bay, the conversion of sewer, all these sorts of things that they're dealing with. You need to spend money to make the types of infrastructure improvements that are necessary, whether they're at the airport, whether they're at the seaport, whether they're in the community at large. Bond issues play a vital role in it. Why would you be opposed to doing some sort of bond issue if you thought that it was going to actually improve services?
Because the money's there already. We're talking about a county budget that's $12 billion, more than 20 states, more than the vast majority of countries in Central and South America and the Caribbean. The money's there, Jim. I mean, we saw it happen not too long ago when the finance director forgot to send one paper to the state. It cost taxpayers $60 million with the gas tax. And what did the county do? They took COVID money that should have gone to infrastructure, that went to infrastructure in Miami Lakes, and they sealed that hole in the county budget.
But you're not opposed to bond issues. Didn't you in 22 support and push for a bond issue to create a new park in Miami Lakes?
Well, it wasn't a new park. It was an issue that was pending since I was a sophomore in high school, and it came to fruition and matured when I was mayor. And it was one of those things that it was in the town's strategic plan for over 20 plus years. And when it came up, we said, you know what? Let our residents vote for this. We had an opportunity if we wanted to.
Well, isn't that essentially what Cava would have done? She would have let voters decide if they want to have. In other words, I guess what I'm trying to say is, why is it okay for you to propose a bond issue in your community, and it's not okay for Daniella Levine Cava to propose one countywide?
Very different. Daniella Levine Cava just showed up one day, said, hey, I want to do $2.5 billion bond. Her own commission didn't even know. Her own staff didn't even know the details. And she now went running around. In Miami Lakes, this was a question that was pending in a transparent fashion since 2000 when the town incorporated. When I was a sophomore in high school, and it literally matured year after year after year, and I said, you know what, put it out to the residents. It was a transparent process. Our residents voted it down, but they knew about it. She proposed a $2.5 billion plan with no plan. And I think that's what created a major issue, not with the community at all, just with the commission. She lost the votes on the commission. Even the commissioner, who she said, hey, she's going to be my champion on the commission, kind of freaked out and said, look, I don't even know what's going on here. And I think that's why she had to pull it back. But the part that is really dangerous, she's saying she wants to expand it and bring it back in 2026. Again, there are no details, and that's the big difference. In Miami Lakes, we do strategic planning. There's Imagine Miami Lakes 2025, where everything is laid out in a transparent fashion, where we bring in the community, we bring in stakeholders, we sit down, and we come up with plans. You can't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to propose a $2.5 billion bond because I want to, with no details. And I think that's what was
So what do you see
wrong.
as the improvements needed in the county? Where would you prioritize, and where would you get the money from?
Well, number one, you have to roll back property taxes. I mean, that's just a reality. Our residents can't pay any more property taxes. Not only our residents, but those folks that are renting and our small businesses. I mean, that is all a pass-through. When you open up a small business, you're not homesteaded. It's a triple net lease, and it's a pass-through into your lease. So now we're raising that cost on our small businesses. That in turn raised the cost on our consumers, and that's something that's vital. We did it in Miami Lakes. We were the only city this year that rolled back property taxes, and we still had a $2 million surplus that we're utilizing now.
When you cut back on property taxes, though, countywide, are you going to cut services, and what services do you think need to be cut?
Well, I'm not going to cut services. I'm going to reform the county. I'll give you a perfect example, Jim. Transportation.
But that does sound. When you say people are going to pay less and get more, that sounds political speak. But give me your example. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And if you have the experience on how to be an administrator, so I understand both worlds, right? The private and public sector. We've never had a county mayor who's owned a small business. We've only had county mayors that have come from the public sector. So I'm bringing in a different perspective that we did in Miami Lakes, and it worked. So I'll give you a perfect example. Transportation impact fees. Right now, in the west part of our county, where we're sitting at today, every time there's a new development, millions of dollars are derived from that development for police impact fees, transportation impact fees, parks, etc. What's happened historically is as though those dollars have been mismanaged. My plan is eliminate that entire process. Whenever there's a development, just say here in Doral where we're at, that money has to stay in that community to mitigate that impact. If we would have done that in the last 30 years, we wouldn't have all the issues that exist today. What happens today is that all that money goes into a central place, gets spent on engineers, on these studies, on all these different things, and no money gets invested in our community. So that's just the start of it. But we can go down the line, look, with garbage, we can go with animal services, the airport. Look, we have more money today than ever before, yet our population has stayed stagnant per the U.S. Census.
Let me just jump in, because we only got about a minute left, and I want to give you a chance just to address this. Because as I said in the open, this is a nonpartisan race, but there are partisan elements to it. You are not, I mean, I will say that you are not someone who is considered an extreme Republican, but you are a Republican. Daniella Levine Cava is a Democrat. Do you see the parties playing strategic roles in this campaign? And to what extent does the fact that you're a Republican guide you versus, and do you use that as an issue against her for the fact that she's a Democrat?
Well, I think the philosophical side, regardless of parties, you have a liberal and you have a conservative. A liberal.
You describe yourself as a conservative.
100%. Okay. And I've governed as a conservative in the town of Miami Lakes. We only focus on those core services that help move our community forward. That's why we enjoy today the highest approval rating of any city in Miami-Dade County, because we deliver for our residents. But this race is going to be not decided so much on party, but will be on the ideological aspect that will be injected into county government. Daniella Levine Cava has injected a more liberal stance in Miami-Dade County. I'll take more of a conservative stance, where we understand the role of county government is to deliver regional services and deliver them properly, and not have this big mess where they see our homes as their personal debit cards.
All right, we're going to end it here. I'm sure we'll have you back. Would you be open to debating the other candidates? Perhaps we could get something together, put it together here for the show?
You let me know when. I'm in. Count me in.
All right. Again, congratulations on your new boy. So thank you very much, Manny Cid. All right. When we come back, Governor Ron DeSantis weakened the state's response to climate change and cut spending on renewable energy. We'll talk to a leading climate advocate when we get back. Stay with us.